It's London, therefore we're terrified!
It's traditional for us to do warm-up shows, and we just felt like a whole tour of warm-up shows would be good for us.
This tour is about just going out there and playing live again, and we haven't done it for a while now. And to play in front of a partisan audience and in these really lovely venues, it's a bit like our pre-season friendlies.
Yeah, we wanted to start off like this. It just feels quite natural to go from a studio with 6 or 7 people in to, you know, a room with a few hundred, and then slowly build up that way. Anything else would just be too artificial, I think.
I think there's this sort of the exuberance and sheer joy of playing again and realising, you know, how lucky we are to be playing these songs and to be in this position, and I think there's a lot of, you know, joy in 5 people playing in a room, which hasn't happened for a while, so...
I don't know quite exactly what happened. I just sort of, you know, I understand why I'm into music now. And I go through phases. I'm sure I'll go through a phase where I don't understand, but right now I'm you know, every time we go on stage, to me it's actually a sort of like fairly what's the word? It's extremely important to me.
Apart from like the pressures of like having lots of cameras pointing at you, it's like just the determination to try and enjoy the concerts and listening to each other on stage and stuff, and enjoy just performing together, and celebrating in that as well is kind of the most important thing, because that's when all the things that are good, the accidental good things happen, you know.
You have uplifting gigs, you know, and they're great, and then you have gigs that are like, but sometimes really good things happen in them, and that's, you know, that's music. You know, you don't really know until afterwards. A lot
of the bands have downloaded the music. I don't know how they've done it, but they've downloaded the music before it came out onto the internet.
It's definitely a good thing, because there's a lot for us to remember. So it's nice to have a prompt from out front.
The new songs were already on the net when we went out on tour before we recorded the record. So it's not really affected the shows, because scarily enough, after the first show, people knew most of it.
But in terms of, you know, with the stuff going up, the actual tracks that went up at the time, we felt that was a bit of a shame, because that's not how we'd have chosen to actually present the album in the first place, really, for first listening. So we felt a little compromised by that, but you know, the tracks have been out there for a while, because we toured them last summer.
There's still enough surprises going on, even for each other.
There's a lot of surprises going on off on stage.
It's fine,
so,
really.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to the album for a long time now, for about 8 weeks, but I remember when we finished it, was just so proud of it, and the fact that we'd got, I mean, the energy is the big thing. I don't think we'd had this kind of energy since the Bends.
Took a long time off, and I don't know, we'd done like, what was it, 5 records, Kid A, and then Amnesiac being the last ones. And at the end of that, it was sort of, lots of sort of, why are we doing this? Why are we doing, yeah. You know, lots of sort of basically rediscovering why we're involved in this, really.
I mean, it's not that we didn't get on during Kid A, but it was a bit of it did have its arduous points.
This record was a lot closer to when we used to play in all the village halls around Oxfordshire and listen to everything on a 4-track, yeah.
We were actually using the writing and recording technique that we used as teenagers, which is very self-obsessed, wherein you record your rehearsals and take them home and listen to them and decide what's good and what's working. So we're listening to a lot of ourselves really,
Yeah.
which is very obviously narcissistic.
I just sort of discovered the joy in music again, which sounds really quite awful, but it's sort of true.
It was 2 weeks of recording, but it was also before that 2 or 3 months of writing and rehearsing, and getting everything into the stage of being able to record it quite quickly. It was a bit like setting up an elaborate photograph or something, and then just taking one shot of it, but spending a while getting things right.
More than the material, though, it's just, you know, where we're at between the 5 of us. It's a very relaxed relationship at the moment. I think it's very open, and it's very supportive, isn't it? Whoa.
What's new from our shows? Hey, what's new? Nothing, we're the same. We're desperately trying to be the same. We just keep missing.
I think we're, you know, we are better musicians now. So I think you're seeing a better band, really. I think we're groovier now.
Yeah, we're definitely.
I think, you know,
yeah, we got oil in our hips.
Yeah, for old blokes.
Yeah, for old blokes.
Live shows are obviously always more immediate by their nature, so even some of the songs that have maybe been a little bit veiled on the recordings, everything's quite clear and present in a live concert, and that's why they're exciting, I suppose.
Actually, having that amount of material now, 6 albums worth of material and all the B-sides, I think that's affected our performance because, you know, you've got a lot to choose from, so you don't run that risk of getting bored.
Good music is a joyful thing, no matter if it's slow or what some people call depressing, whatever. When it works, it's joyful, and I've sort of discovered that.
And the thing about us is we're contrary buggers in the sense that we don't do things unless we really want to do them. You know, if it feels like it's some kind of, you know, we're like this jukebox or whatever, then we that's not us. That's not what we're about. So we, as Phil was saying, we have this ability to now change the set a lot. So it keeps us on our toes, and it, you know, keeps us interested and emotionally involved in the music, which is, you know, I think that's something that we've always had, and it's a very important part of what we do.
It's interesting how a lot of the songs were written having worked out how to play the previous 2 albums live, and the techniques we learnt to play those studio recordings informed how we wrote these songs. So that's where a lot of the new instruments have come from.
There are songs like Fake Plastic Trees that suddenly, I mean, for a while, a song like that, you know, you'd play it every night, and then you know, on Kid A&M Music, we weren't playing it every night, and it didn't quite feel, it felt like occasionally we were trotting out like a greatest hit. But now there's a sort of there's a sort of resonance to it, and it's great because you revisit some of these songs, and sometimes they won't, you know, they don't seem relevant, and then, you know, 9 years later they seem more relevant, if you like, and there's relief as well, you know. People, if anyone goes wee for a song, that's great.
Backstage.
You think I have responsibility to give I have responsibility to give the fans a good time. That just sounds kinky to me.
It is very strange when they come from so far away.
And we have friends from America who came over to England in the late 70s and saw people like Buzzcocks and Joy Division and Magazine and stuff like that. So that kind of sort of passion and curiosity and following like good music. I mean, if there's anyone who's into us in those kinds of ways, then I just think we'd be pathetically grateful, really.
The people I know that do that enjoy the fact that sometimes it goes wrong anyway, and I tend to talk to people about it. I mean, they really don't care at all. It's kind of like a hanging out thing.
It's purely representative of where he is and also where we are as a band. I mean, it's, if you're relaxed, then, you know, you don't tend to bother. You know, you're sort of more open. You haven't got the defense. I mean, we have been in our past quite defensive because, you know, there have been a lot of things that we haven't necessarily felt comfortable with doing this. You know, when you become a band and you release records, you know, you get into it because you play music, and then you sort of, decide to release records, and you enter that whole arena of promotion and marketing, and some of these things, you know, and they're not bad things, but there's some things that we haven't felt comfortable with. But now, only after 12 years of doing this, there's a kind of, you know, okay, this is what we do, and we you know, if we want to get our record heard by people, which is, you know, ultimately what we want to do, these are things that you have to do.
Rather than sort of running scared a lot of the time, I'm kind of into using what I've got, which is that camera there and that camera there and you and that light there and a microphone when someone hands me it, and drum machine and these 4 other guys that I'm mates with, and I'm really into just using it for my own evil purposes. The stuff in the world talk about thing, the politics or whatever, I mean, I think the energy for that, I try and focus in the music itself when we're doing it, because it's politics is quite a poisonous subject and extremely addictive. It spirals out of control, and it's only because of the music that we ended up creating that I was able to explore those things, and that sort of I felt was the best place for this blind terror to end up. Someone gave me a tape a few years ago, which was an interview with John Coltrane. I don't know why they gave me that. And it's like this, it's really bizarre. It's an interview that was never actually printed, but it's a cassette tape, and this guy's like following him around after the show, and they just sort of get on, and John Coltrane actually opens up, which he didn't do a lot, and he's just sort of saying, you know, I got involved in the politics for a while, and then I just decided to just channel it down my horn, because that was the best place for it to be, because everywhere else was ugly, and that's basically how I feel. I get drawn into it, but how I feel about it is best left in the music, I think. It's not mine. Nothing to do with us.
I was passing the venue earlier and I saw these, and there were all these posters there, and no one was paying the blindest bit of notice to them.
Releasing a record is an excuse to mess with people's heads, to me.
It was one of those ideas that came from the studio, you know, after a few drinks and a few smokes, and the drive from our studio into Oxford, it involves there's always a lot of traffic at rush hour time, and you always get those posters, you know, tied on with a bit of string to like £124,000. Do you want to earn it in one day?
I'm very fascinated by the idea of putting things in the wrong place, and for us, that's right. Someone ran a story saying that they put them up all around LA, and someone thought what we were doing was holding auditions for pop stars. The Radiohead thought it was a really good idea to get young blood, and they just so missed the point. It was brilliant.
I guess it's we hope that people might ring up this number, and if they notice it, but there's so much of this stuff going on that I think we like the idea of it sort of seeping into, you know, the occasional Radiohead fan we like that sort of attention to detail.
I think it's true that becoming a dad is sort of obviously it colours your perspective. I mean, I used to really hate people who just said that, you know, blah blah blah, and it used to really wind me up, but it's actually true. But it also I mean, personally, from my heart, I believe that regardless of all this, you know, glitzy media nonsense, I basically think that we're entering a very, very dangerous phase. The West has decided it's in charge, and the West is now setting itself up not for good intentions, not for the benefit of mankind, not for the future. The people in charge globally are maniacs. They are maniacs, and unless we sort it out, are going to deprive us of a future. And I know I'm paranoid and neurotic. I've made a career out of it, hurrah! But it's the truth. Having a child made me think, oh my God, you know, in 50 years' time, he might not have anything to live for at all. Most people don't have the time to think about it. Most people who watch MTV don't think about it. They don't have time. I don't have time. Luckily, I'm paranoid and neurotic, so I make the time.